Hello and welcome to the M Word, where we have uncensored conversations on all things marketing. We're your hosts, Jennifer Mulchandani
and Heather Michaelgard. For Season 2, our conversations are focused on brand. Listen in for ideas you can use for your brand. Enjoy today's episode.
Today we are talking to Manny Cosme, the founder and CEO of CFO Services Group. Now celebrating 10 years in business, Manny and his team recently went through what he calls a grueling but very rewarding rebranding. We talk about how the rebranding helped his company articulate the authentic brand that was already there and use that to double his business.
Listen as we discuss the importance of values, people, and how asking the right questions might just uncover the answers you are looking for. Enjoy.
Hey, Manny. Welcome to the M Word.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Happy Friday. So, Manny, when you hear the word brand, what does that mean to you?
So to me, when I think of the word brand, it's about sort of the idea that someone has about the company or the service the company offers before they're even really formally introduced to that thing, right? So if I think of, Nike, I'm going to think of immediately a sports shoe, right? And a quality shoe and something that, just kind of the reputation, it's almost a reputation of the thing and how it precedes it before even trying on a shoe, so that's brand to me.
What about personal brand? What does that mean?
So same thing, right? So if I think of someone's personal brand, and there's a few influencers, quote unquote, right, that I follow, you don't even have to listen to their message every day or really know much about their personal lives to just kind of know, oh, if I see a message from so-and-so, this is what it's going to be about. And it's going to be a valuable message because they've built up, again, that idea of the reputation that they've built up over time. And so if I'm looking for business advice, I'll go to this person because I know that's their brand, right? So that's what I think of about as I think of personal brand. So similar to the company.
So Manny, you are the owner of CFO Services Group. Talk to us about how long you've been in business. What is your core service, or what is the biggest thing that you offer? And has the brand evolved since you started?
Oh yes, 100%. So yes, CFO Services Group, the name itself is part of our brand, right? CFO Services Group. Guess what we do? We provide CFO services for small businesses and nonprofits. So we provide, and technically we provide management accounting, which is bookkeeping, and of course CFO service for small businesses and nonprofits. The name itself is part of our brand, and our brand has absolutely evolved. We've been around for 10 years now, and the brand has definitely evolved over that time. In fact, we recently underwent a brand audit with various people that we use. And just really honed in more on who we are and what is it that we want to represent out in the market. And that was everything from, we looked at our name. What does our name mean? Does that make sense? What colors are we using? Our logo, what does that mean? What's our taglines? Who's our target, customer? All of that became part of our brand and what experience we want to have, and even who we want to hire into the company. All of that became part of this brand experience that we want our clients to have with us. So, it runs really deep.
Back up a little bit, because you said you just went through a brand audit, and that gets all of our bells going. What made you, as you're the founder, you're the head of this 10-year-old business. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But so what, do you wake up one morning and say, our brand is off? What made you even think of auditing?
That's exactly what happened. I woke up one day, we need to ditch this whole thing. No, what happened was we'd had the same brand, logo, whatever for, and when I say brand, I mean really logo and color scheme and website and all that for a few years. I hired I finally hired an in-house marketing manager to help grow the business. And that was one of the first things that he said was, well, it started with, we need to redo our website. That led into all sorts of, it really opened up Pandora's box there of, well, if we do our website, do we redo our name? Do we redo our logo? Do we refresh everything? So we started to go down the path, and then we got to a point where it was like, we should probably bring in some professionals to help us think through this. So we actually went through a very intense 3-month process of digging into who we are, whatnot. I mean, it involved interviews with all of our team members, interviews with our clients, just all sorts of things. And in the end, put together this really nice package of explaining who we are and what space we want to take in the market and all of that. And then that, of course, then translated into visuals and whatnot. So that's a long-winded way of saying that's how we got there. It started with the website, and then it went into everything else in the business. And it was a really, really fascinating process to go through. And really forced us to hone in on, who are we versus, who are we not, which is interesting.
I'd love to know what surprised you about that process. What did you learn about whether it's your staff or your brand or yourself that you didn't know before?
That no one liked our logo. I found that out. I was really surprised because I really loved our old logo. Turns out no one liked it. Everyone was like,
did that bum you out?
It did.
Did that bum you out?
I did. I really liked our old logo, but it turns out everyone was really confused by it. Like they didn't understand it, I guess, and whatnot. It was like this. Anyways, well, it's no longer here. So we have a really cool logo now. Like super excited about it. But actually, I will say, nothing that was done surprised me, and that probably was the most important thing. It really confirmed everything I'd ever felt about who we were and where we were going was confirmed. Even our name was confirmed as part of this audit process. So that alone, like outside of the visuals and whatnot, and we did hone in on like taglines and things like that. So we definitely tightened a lot of that up. But everything else, like the core stuff, really remained the same. And I was actually, I guess, surprised that everything stayed the same, but also pleased because I knew that my gut instinct was correct in where we were going. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I mean, I think it's cool that you weren't surprised by anything, because it's really affirming that you've built something that is still, it still has weight and meaning. But when your marketing manager said to you, like, we need a new website, like, was that like a point of, oh, wow, this is going to become a really big deal because it's going to have all of this Pandora's box? Or were you kind of like, oh, okay, let's update the website, not knowing the implications of sort of saying yes to that?
A little bit of both, because I had built the original website myself, so I knew how much work it would be. And I had gone through someone helping me, I should say that, rebuilding the website to where it was before. So I knew it was a process. I did not think it was going to lead into all of the rest of that stuff, but I did have an understanding it was going to be difficult because, when you redo a website, I mean, that typically involves also updating copy. That also involves, really going back and honing in, well, what are the services you're offering? So I know it can be a process for sure. And it was one that I did not want to do unless I had a manager in my company helping to drive this. I did not anticipate it going to the depth that it ended up going, though, I guess. Yeah.
So how long has the new brand been active and what has been the response?
So we launched the brand, the unveiling of the new brand. I think it was September of last year. So it's been almost a year, about 3/4 of a year, I guess, so far. And the response has been really great. I've gotten a lot of compliments on our website, the look and feel of it. I since have hired a new marketing manager. That person left to go do bigger and better things, and we're super excited for him. So I hired a new marketing manager, and it was so nice to be able to just give him what we call our brand playbook now, and just be like, here's our brand playbook, go. And he was like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I need. And so from there, he's just been taking it and running. So it's been really helpful. And also to share that with our current team, like I'm catching that we're using similar language now when we speak with people. And that's super important. Like we're all on the same page.
So does this brand playbook then, what is the messaging component, and did you do training around that? Like when you were making the shift, was it, all right, team, let's sit down and all get on the same page, or was it, here's the brand playbook, brush up?
No, it was definitely, because no one did. No, it was definitely, let's talk about this. We, unveiled the website. We walked everyone through the brand playbook, and whatnot. And now we have ongoing trainings. Once a week, we all do a training in-house. And so some of those trainings are around our brand and messaging and whatnot. So not only are, because we're accountants, so we get technical skills, we get soft skills, we get, software skills, and we also get the messaging skills as well. So the branding and whatnot, because everyone still, when you speak to a client, if you're a bookkeeper and you're speaking to a client, you are the representation of our brand. So you need to be on point with that and being, aware of that. So yeah, no, absolutely. So that's part of our ongoing training now, is to make sure everyone's thinking about it top of mind.
I have to tell you, as a marketing and branding professional, I am like throwing confetti at you and balloons, because to hear a CFO, a business owner, talk about the importance of a playbook and brand messaging and company training on the brand messaging, it's so good to hear, because it really is really important. But I think it's hard to get people and companies to invest in that. So can you tell our listeners what has been the payoff since investing in your brand? Because it took a lot of time and I'm assuming a lot of money.
Yeah, well, we've tripled our revenue since, we doubled it from last year to this year. So part of that was definitely honing in on our brand and really focusing on, who our ideal client is, and just everyone being on point with the messaging. One of the other things we did was we shifted, who Paola, we shifted her from the position she was in before. We actually retitled her position and focused her a little bit more on doing community engagement. So our tag, or our brand essence, is your community accountant. And when we thought about everything that we do, we realized that one of our secret sauces, if you will, is that we really embed ourselves in the community that we're in. And we really give a lot back to that community in terms of education and connections and things like that. And so we decided that we wanted to be your community accountant. And so as a result of that, we then took this individual and we shifted her to be our head of community engagement. So we retitled her and then refocused her on going out and building stronger connections within the community using this language. And the response has been phenomenal. We are literally on every top of everyone's call list now when they need accounting education, financial education. We're starting to get, there's a lot of grant money going around right now for financial education. We are literally the first people that are getting called to provide this work. So we are getting inundated with grant work now, as well as continue to do free webinars and workshops and things like that. So
okay, yeah. we need to dive into this, because you you're ringing all the bells, Manny, because you talked about, one, your essence of being the community, embedded in the community, giving back to the community. Well, I don't want to assume anything. was that a shift from where you were the first 10 years, or is it now that you're just able to articulate that? Let's start with that.
Yeah, what you said. No, we were always that. It's just now we were able to articulate. In fact, when we did the brand audit, that was the thing that they, after this 3-month grueling process, when they presented that to us, I mean, it was like every there was no dry eye in the room. It was like, oh my God, you absolutely nailed exactly who we were, and you're able to articulate with those words, those 3 little words, exactly who we are. And it was like, oh yeah, we're taking this and running with it. This is absolutely who we are. So it was very affirming, and and able again to then help us then focus in right on that. So
right. And so, that just warms my heart, because it's so much of the core of even my business. It's about connecting businesses to the communities they serve. It's this idea that it isn't about a single bottom line. There's so much more power and impact that you can have in your community. You just have to connect to it. And you just said that your business has doubled, then tripled, or you've exponentially grown since being able to. You were already doing the good work, but when you're able to authentically relate that to your team, to your clients, to your network, that the payoff just started to flow from there. And so how, what do you say to the next small business owner who's like, I'm just worried about making payroll, or I just try to, I need to head down and build the business. Like, how did you make that such a core part of what your brand is?
That's an interesting question. I'll say this, and I'll answer very honestly. When the business was smaller, it was me, and I was the brand, basically, right? I was the one going out to the networking events. I was the one in the community. I was the one servicing the clients. But as we grew and I started to hire people to do these roles, I became less in there. And as a result, my brand, was diluted, basically, right? I was the one pushing the brand. So I had to make sure as we grew that we were able to still be on brand. So that's when it became very important to make sure that we really solidified what this was, so that we can continue to grow and scale without losing the essence of who I was when I started this business and what this was from the very beginning. Does that make sense?
It does. And so, you talked about sort of repositioning one of your key staff, right, into community engagement. And so was her role traditionally, was she your salesperson? Like, and it was a reposition to, it's not about sales, it's about bringing community.
That's exactly right. Yep. She was sales and there's networking involved in sales and whatnot. And we actually completely removed her from sales, to be honest. We actually took her out of sales. We hired a salesperson full-time. So now we have someone dedicated to sales, using the brand, by the way, to make sure that he was the right fit for this role. And then we moved her into 100% community engagement role. So all she does all day long is build connections within the community, other organizations, other, referral partners, kind of things like that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's another, I've heard it called relationship marketing. Where you're out there building strategic, authentic relationships, and it's also leading to business, which is good for both parties. So I love that.
Exactly. Well, and like I said, that's why we specifically titled her community engagement, because it ties right back to your community accountants. So we can't be your community accountants if we don't have a community engagement person, right? So it totally just made sense. And by the way, in thinking about making that move, we looked at, well, again, what is our brand? Who do we want? And she was the absolute personification of that brand. I mean, if she goes out, I mean, if we actually tell people what our brand is and they meet her, I mean, they're like, oh yeah, she literally is your brand personified. Like, it's amazing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I love what you said about using your brand guide as a tool on the HR side. You know,
Mhm.
because it becomes this filter to ensure that you're attracting people who want to be a part of what you've established, as opposed to just, checking 5 boxes of what their skill set is. But it's about company culture too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Which
Yeah,
comes
that's
super important as you grow. Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So now that you're on the other side of what you've now said about 3, 4 times was a grueling 3-month process. um,
I
you
guess
know,
grueling isn't the right word. It was an intensive. It was intense though, I will say.
right.
Yeah.
So, and you've had some time to, like, it's settled. It's like, it's now it's just it's like, that's in the rearview mirror, the process of sort of repositioning your identity. What do you wish you knew then at the start when this manager walked in your office and said, we need to update the website? Like, in hindsight, what do you wish you knew you were
No.
walking into?
No, I kind of like knew. I got in the back of my mind, I was like, oh yeah, I know this is going to be more of a process. But I knew it needed to be done. Like I knew that he was right. Like we needed to do this. We needed to really solidify who we were, because we weren't going to really be able to grow much more until we did that. It really was sort of the thing that was, almost we were hitting our ceiling in a sense, because we never be able to break out and grow more without really honing this idea, or at least grow as fast, for sure. So
along that,
yeah.
sorry, Manny, along that same line, what advice would you give others who are questioning whether they need to completely redo their brand, refresh their brand? What would you say to them?
Do it, definitely. I think it's something that probably needs to be done periodically anyways. It's not because, businesses, like people, are constantly evolving, and who we are 10 years from now is not who we were 10 years ago. I'm certainly not the same person I was, 5 years ago. So, it's probably something that you need to do periodically. And I by no means am under any illusion that this is the last time we're going to do this. Like I said, I probably do it every few years or so, just to, if anything, just to check in and make sure, is this still who we are? Or do we need to course correct? Do we need to get back to who we were? Did we get off course? Or do we want to be something different now? Do we want to evolve? Like I think that's very important to be doing that. So, and I will say, I joke, it was an intensive process. It was a grueling process. No, but the reason why was because so many in-depth questions were asked. Like it really made you stop and think. And it wasn't something that you can just, oh yeah, it's 10 o'clock at night and we just knock out these answers and get them. So no, it was like, you had to really sit down and like, think about the answers to some questions, like, who are we? Where do we want to go? So that was the intensive part of it.
Right. And I think the lesson there, and we try to tell our clients this too, it's, you've got to be committed to put in the work of it. It isn't, I'm going to hire a branding or marketing company to come in and reinvent me. It's because then it's not authentic. Like, yeah, we could go and create a brand and it might have nothing to do with what you're trying to achieve as an owner. So you have to be willing to put in the work. But what has this process taught you, or how has it maybe inspired you on an individual level? We were talking before we were recording about, sort of working on your own personal brand. Like how is that related?
Well, it is because, the business has a brand, but then me as the founder, president, CEO of the company, I also have a brand, and I also am out there representing. So one is making sure that this company, because it is mine still, right? Like I founded this company, that there's still an alignment. I can't have a company that is out of line with my core values as a person. So that's super important that always remains, right? Otherwise, if there's ever a conflict there, maybe I shouldn't be the president CEO anymore. I can remain the owner, but maybe it's not my company to run anymore. So making sure I'm always in line with that. But also as we grow, I'm moving into a different space where I'm not working with clients necessarily anymore. I'm leading a team of people. And I'm also out there kind of being the pioneer of the business into the community and into the world, really. And so as I do that, what is my personal brand in going out there? Because everyone knows, I mean, think of all the people you know, everyone knows who Elon Musk is, and everyone knows that he founded, Tesla. Everyone knows who Steve Jobs is, right? And his work in Apple. And so you start associating these people together, so, and you can think of all Amazon and, Jeff Bezos, so, but these people are linked to their companies, and you can't think of Jeff Bezos without immediately thinking of Amazon, or Elon Musk without immediately thinking of Tesla. So they have to be very protective of what is their personal brand, because that reflects on the company as well. And so it's interesting because, you have to start to really be conscious about co-creating the two. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think it's important too to, brand is so much more than just the logo, the website, the business card. I mean, it really is your people. And you even said your community manager personifies exactly the brand that you want. And so making sure that, yes, the personal brands are that connect to the company brand is really important.
Exactly. Because if people don't like me, they're not going to like my company, I guess. Right. So kind of how that goes.
So now now you know more about brand. You've recreated your brand. Is there anyone in the community or nationally that stand out to you as a brand that you really enjoy or respect?
I mean, the top brands out there, I'm sure, are always the ones that come to mind because, they put a lot of thought and effort into what they do. I've always loved Nike's brand. I always thought it was just super powerful and so simple, but so powerful. I mean, we could talk for days about, brands and all the power that they bring. But I always look at the big ones to kind of really, kind of emulate and really appreciate, what they do. Disney, such an amazing brand. I mean, and that now that's an example of a brand that they really drill deep into everyone what their brand is. Like it's really remarkable. I can't even imagine how they do that. So
Great. Yeah. Well, Manny, this has been a lot of fun, but before we say farewell for today, where would folks go to find more about you or your company?
Sure. CFOServicesGroup.com. That's our website. So www.CFOServicesGroup.com. That's where you can find us.
Awesome.
Well, congrats on the new brand. It looks great. And thank you for a fun conversation.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, Manny.
Bye, Manny.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The M Word. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter.
And we'd really love it if you would leave us a review.
Until next time, don't be afraid to be uncensored.
The M Word is an Arlington Strategy production hosted by Jennifer Mulchandani and Heather Michaelgard. Our theme music is Golden Reflections of the Sun by Vlad Glushenko.
Graphic design by Kayla Fagan. Sound engineering and editing by Ben Mulchandani and Nina Sofia Pacheco.
Editing by Nina Sofia Pacheco and Janelle Walters.